Imagine waking up one morning to find nude pictures of yourself on the internet, and you did not put them there, and you did not know they had ever been taken of you. And they come with an invitation for your family and your friends and all your work colleagues to log on and take a look. Imagine how violated you would feel. Well, it happened to a former NBC local news anchor who is now sharing her story because she says if you don't think it can happen to you, or for that matter, to your child, you're wrong.
For 20 years, Darieth Chisholm was a popular news anchor for WPXI, the NBC affiliate in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But she says she decided to leave the high-pressure job in 2013 to be at home more for her son's last year in high school and to launch a new career as a motivational speaker, author, and life coach. Less than 2 years later, she moved to Jamaica to live the island lifestyle and be closer to a Jamaican man she had dated in her teens when they lived in Detroit. At first, all seemed well with the newly rekindled relationship, but after a few months of living together, Darieth noticed he was becoming controlling. She decided to end the relationship and move to Florida. She says on January 1st of this year, 8 months after she had broken things off, she woke up to a phone call at 2 a.m. It was her ex-boyfriend, and she says he had a chilling message for her. If she didn't take him back, he would stab her in the heart and shoot her in the head. And that was just the beginning.
Pick up my cell phone one day and I look and there's harassing memes with photos of me with lies written across them. And then another one came through and it was a photo of me naked.
She says he told her he was creating a website to share the images, and he planned to invite her family, friends, and business clients to log on and look. He began sending her messages, showing her which pictures he was going to upload to the site, taunting, "Refresh every day. I'm still working on it."
There's a website now with all of these photos and a video that he put together with the photos strung together. I hit the floor. I can't even tell you where that sent me.
Darieth reported what was happening to local authorities in Florida, and they began investigating. But she says the revenge porn did not end. In fact, despite receiving a temporary restraining order, she says her ex-boyfriend continued threatening her until just this past September, and that to this day, she continues to live in fear.
Darieth Chisholm documents her story in a new documentary she is producing called 50 Shades of Silence. And she's with us now to share the rest of her story. Great to see you.
Oh, so good to be here, Megyn. Thank you.
So you did not know that these images even existed. Why is that?
Some of them he took while I was sleeping. I was living with him in Jamaica, and talk about a great sense of violation when you love and you trust someone and they're taking photos and then now use them in this way. It is extremely embarrassing and humiliating.
So that's not even an assumption of the risk that things will go south and this person will do something awful to you. You didn't even know that naked photos of you existed.
Right, and he also used other photos that we'd taken together, photos that he had of me, and so he, I'm assuming, gave them to someone to string together multiple videos. He would send those to me in a text message with continuous threats. Take a look at this video. What do you think people are going to say about you when they see this? And it was all in an attempt for me to return to the relationship, which I clearly was not going to do.
You know, because we always say to like our young girls, like, don't pose for those photos because that could be used against you. And this was something entirely different. Not that those young girls are to blame. Talk about how he was in the beginning and whether there were any signs that he was this way.
There weren't many, but they started surfacing. He was extremely controlling and jealous and obsessive, and those were some of the early signs that I started to see. And as you know, when you're living with someone and you're coming to find this out, and you're also discovering multiple lies and stories that don't add up, then you say to yourself, why am I here? What did I get myself into? I need to leave, and I did.
You left in April of 16? Okay, so this is all pretty recent, this is happening.
Oh, yes.
And then January of 17, the phone rings, and what did he say?
He called, it was 2 in the morning. I hadn't talked to him for several months, and I had assumed that the relationship was completely broken off because I was only back in Jamaica in November to collect some things. He said, if you don't return to this relationship, if you don't end friendships with anyone else, I'm going to stab you in your heart and shoot you in your head. And those words were the most painful. If you've ever been threatened before, and God forbid anyone ever is threatened, it is the most alarming sense. And then what he said after that is what left me in fear for even longer. And if I don't do it, I'll find somebody who will. So it leaves you thinking, who's behind me? What's going on? Your sense of security is ruined from that point.
What was the first moment you saw the pictures of yourself?
A couple of weeks after that, he sent a few videos, and I happened to open it up, and I looked over and I thought, my goodness, how could you do this to me? Why would you do this to me? And, you know, every 3 or 4 days he would send another one, and it was leaving me in this very dark, silent space. I have a very busy career, speaking, traveling, and there would be times that just before I would go out on stage, I'd get this message.
Can you imagine?
And no, and it just leaves you paralyzed is probably the best word to use.
Then he did what he said he was going to do with the website. And was it a friend or a family member who first called that to your attention?
It was my ex-husband. And he called to tell him to take a look at it. He then called multiple business partners of mine or people that I'd been associated with. And I'm fortunate because they all called and have been very supportive through all of this. But it was the threats that he was making against my son that really left me angry and confused, because if you say you love someone, why would you continue this?
What was he saying about your son?
That he would expose this information as well. And it was at that point when you discover in yourself that you have got to fight, and fight in a way that makes sense to protect the ones that you love and protect yourself.
But the courts are not there yet, right? The law has not caught up with technology. Like, what were you told by the courts and the police?
I'm still in court. We're still pursuing civil and criminal charges. My biggest issue is because this is international, there's no clear space. And I think for us, the biggest challenge, well, not I think, the biggest challenge for us has been jurisdiction. And because I'm here in the United States and he's in another country.
But when you went to the websites and said, right, you went to, who'd you go to, Google, or and said, take those images down, that was non-consensual. What did they say?
Go get a court order. I've yet to have a court order. And when you are in court now for 6 or 7 months, imagine if those images were still out there. Imagine if people could find them. I was fortunate because I used a takedown service to take the website down, and we were able to scrub the internet to remove the photos and the videos. But without that, and certainly without my desire to make sure that I was not only advocating for myself, but advocating for others, we can't be in this day and age where we're all on the internet, and the internet is international, and then be left to be exposed this way.
We're powerless over it. And you're an educated, successful, professional woman. Think about women at home who have no money, and this happens, that they have no idea. They can't pay a takedown service, they don't know how to get a court order, and they just surrender to it. Right. And that's why you're doing it, because you hesitated about going public with this story.
I certainly did. I had obviously a lot at stake, and
did you feel humiliated about it?
I have felt the most humiliation anyone can ever experience. Shame was the biggest piece. Shame and guilt for having been in the relationship in the first place, but secondly, just the shame of what would people say and what would they think. But what I discovered is that most people who have been assaulted in this way really do live with a heavy sense of shame. And once I released that, and once I, fortunately as a coach, I've been able to use some of the tools that I know to move through this emotionally. And I started asking myself, who do I need to become now to get through this? And as I watched more people so helpless, I knew that I just needed to use my voice, my story, and my platform. And
what a great question. Who do I need to become to get through this? Yeah. You sort of picture that stronger, most empowered version of yourself, and that's how you make it happen. The last thought that you want others to know out there who are worried about this happening, or to whom it has happened, who may be sitting there feeling powerless right now?
Yeah, get help. It is not something that you should remain locked in silence for. the documentary that we're creating, the website 50shadesofsilence.com, is really intended to give people resources and steps and ways to move through this, both practical in terms of takedown services, removal guides, but also from the sense of really empowering victims to rise and shine in spite of what they're experiencing and know that they can release the shame and stand in their power.
I don't want to say it was meant to happen to you, but someone with your background, reporting facts, breaking news, telling the stories, then who goes on to become a professional life coach to help people through difficult times and be their best selves, who then has this time to deal with this problem and help us all, I don't know.
I often say, for such a time as this, for me, this is really about using everything I've ever learned in my life.
Yes.
And from television to life and business coaching to all of my experiences, and it is really with the intent to serve others in what is now. If we don't get a hold of it now, imagine what life is going to be like in the future for many victims. We're not putting our cell phones down, and we're not getting off the internet.
That's right.
So we have to move swiftly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
As victims like Darieth seek ways to end revenge porn, it is important to note there's now a bipartisan effort on Capitol Hill to make it a federal criminal offense, which it must be. The bill is co-sponsored by Senator Kamala Harris. It was introduced a week ago, and we will keep you posted on its progress. If you believe you are a victim of revenge porn and would like to get in contact with Darieth, you can check out our website at today.com/Megyn Today, and all the best to you.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.